Hello and welcome to Byjus Exam Prep IAS. Before we start with our today's analysis, we have a couple of announcements. The first is in reference to the Byjus National Scholarship Test, which is scheduled to be conducted on 11th of September 2022 at 11 a.m. What is it you have to do? Follow the link given in the description box, give all the necessary information, and you would be able to win some attractive scholarships. The next announcement is in reference to the weekly current affairs explain session. As part of the explain session, tomorrow's topic discussion would be legacy of Mikhail Gorbachev. This is very important from the international relations perspective. So tune in live on our YouTube channel at 8 p.m. so that you understand everything about this topic. The third is in reference to the official Telegram channel. Scan the QR code or follow the link given in the description box. This will take you to our official Telegram channel. Join the channel to get all the current affairs related updates. Let's get started and look into the first article. The first article says the evolving role of CSR in funding NGOs. Let us try and understand what is this article all about. This article here is speaking about the corporate social responsibility. It further takes a viewpoint that the corporate social responsibility that is accorded to all these companies, which is a mandatory provision given under the Companies Act of 2013, is where these companies will also have to work coordinate with the NGOs so that the ultimate outcome of the programs are successful and efficient. First, it speaks about the corporate social responsibility. Second, it speaks about cooperation between the companies and the NGOs so that the outcome of this entire program also becomes efficient. First, we will try and understand what is this corporate social responsibility. We are all people living in the society. Companies are also part of the society. When companies run their organization, their companies, what they do is they sell out their product to the people in the society. So they are expecting some profits from the society. They're taking something from the people. So the corporate social responsibility basically believes since they're taking something from the society, these companies will also have to give back something to the people and the society, which is what is called as corporate social responsibility. So corporate companies social to the society, so they own a responsibility to the society is what is called as the corporate social responsibility. In India, corporate social responsibility has been made mandatory through provisions under section 135 of the Companies Act of 2013. According to the law, a company needs to spend at least 2% of their average net profit made during the 3 immediately preceding financial years for the CSR activities. Who is eligible for CSR? Having a net worth of rupees 500 crores or more, having a turnover of rupees 1000 crores or more, having a net profit of rupees 5 crores or more during a financial year. If a particular company meets any of these criteria, not all the 3 criterion, but any of a single criteria, in such a case, such a company will have to engage in what is called as the corporate social responsibility. So they have to take out certain percentage of the profit and make sure that this money is provision for a certain social sector development. What are the areas where they would be able to provision a certain amount of money in the social sector? This includes eradicating hunger, poverty and malnutrition, promoting education, promoting gender equality, CSR initiatives related to the environment, protection of national heritage, art and culture. Measures can be taken for the benefit and support of armed forces, veterans, war widows and families, contribution to the Prime Minister's National Relief Fund or any other fund set up by the central government for welfare, development and relief of the scheduled caste, tribes, other backward classes, women and minorities, contribution or funds provided to the development of technology located within the central government approved academic institutions. Contributions can be made towards rural development projects and slum area development. So the money that they have provisioned can be spent on any of these social sector schemes and programs. How does the CSR work in India? When we speak about the CSR, what we require is one of the body which will have a vigilant eyes and overview as to how it has to be implemented. So what we have is a company, let's say for example Infosys, or we have Wipro or any other company. This particular company will have what is called as the CSR CSR committee. Every company to which CSR criteria is applicable shall constitute a corporate social responsibility of the board, which is called as the CSR committee. So there is a company, this particular company has to provide certain amount of money to the social sector. So what they have to create is called as the CSR committee. Minimum 3 or more directors form the CSR committee. Among those 3 directors, at least one director must be an independent director. So remember, the programs or activities under the CSR is carried through a registered trust, society or a company, and the eligible companies are required to formulate a CSR committee in order to carry out programs as activities as approved by this particular committee. What if a company fails to spend the amount within a 1 year? So what we have to do is this particular company will have to take certain amount of money and spend within a year. What if they're not able to do so? In that case, they have to transfer the unutilized CSR funds to an escrow account and ensure its utilization happens within 3 years. So you have to make sure that you take certain amount of money, put it and spend it for the social sector. If you're not able to do so, create a CSR fund escrow account and ensure that this is utilized within 3 years. And if a company fails to do even that, it will have to transfer the balance amount to what is called as the National CSR Fund. So what are the duties of the CSR committee? The CSR committee shall formulate and recommend a CSR policy to the board. CSR committee shall recommend the amount of expenditure to be incurred on the CSR activities to be undertaken by the company, and the CSR committee shall monitor the CSR policy of the company from time to time. So it is the CSR committee which will look into all of this. But the question is, what is not CSR? We did look into where the companies would be able to invest their money into the social sector. But what is not CSR? Let's say, for example, there is a company. This particular company is paying its money to one of the political parties. So if the money is paid to the political parties, that is not the corporate social responsibility. Or let's say, for example, there are employees of that particular company. Let's say Infosys has its employees, Wipro has its employees, or any company has its employees. If they're coming up with a program for the benefit of their own employees, that is also not called as the corporate social responsibility. So any activity which is not in the form of a project cannot be qualified as a CSR for that particular company. Now the most important question is, why did the corporate social responsibility come into picture? Why is it important for the company as well? That is because it will create a positive image for that company. Let's say, for example, if I ask you which is the most trustworthy company that you are aware of, most of us would say it is Tata. In fact, there was also a web series as well called as Scam 1992. In that, the protagonist was asked a question, which is the best share that he would want him to invest. So the protagonist says that invest in Tata and it will give you all the dividends and profits that is possible. So what will happen in case there is a company like Tata which also invests in lot of philanthropic activities and works for the people? In that case, people will also have positive image of that company. So the corporate social responsibility gives a broader vision, gives a broader image to that particular company, because it is not only making profits but it is also investing for the people itself. So the profits that is derived is ultimately going back to the people. So the first advantage of corporate social responsibility, yes, you're part of the society. So being part of the society, you are creating a better future for the country, for the people, and at the same time you're creating a better image for yourself. As a result, people who are working for that particular company, that is the employees, they would also want to continue with that particular company. So there is retention of the employees as well. So on one side, the image of the company continues to become more and more, and at the same time the employees will continue to be present with that particular company. Added to it, there is customer who would be happy to engage with such a company. Like I told you, Tata is one of the companies, so it is known for its quality as well. It is known for giving back to the people most of the profits. So in that case, there is customer understanding. Customer would want to go back to that particular company. And finally, when we speak about corporate social responsibility, there are more people who would also want to buy their shares. They would also want to ensure that more money is given to such a company because they know for the fact that this particular company will work for the people. So they will also get more investments as well. However, there are challenges as well. This corporate social responsibility is not right, say many people. Why? That is because when it comes to corporate social responsibility, what is happening? A certain profit have to be taken from the company, and this company will have to invest into a social sector scheme. But there is something called as the taxation. The government also imposes taxes on all these companies. When these companies are paying the taxes, why should they take part in the corporate social responsibility? It is the responsibility of the government to come up with social sector schemes and programs. It is not the responsibilities of the companies. So indirectly, the government is imposing a backdoor taxation on these companies is a major challenge. So the major concern or the challenge is there is double taxation that is happening to the companies. Ideally, companies are only meant for making their profits. They are only meant for taking care of their employees. It is the government which has to take care of the people. It is the government which has to take care of the social sector schemes and programs. If the government is making the private sector do this, it is escaping its responsibility is the major concern with respect to the corporate social sector. Now what we have to understand is that this article currently goes on to say that during the COVID-19 period, many people started suffering. They lost their jobs as well. They did not have the food to eat. They had to take care of their family. They had to take care of their health. So during this particular period, it was the NGO which became the backbone of the country. So these NGOs work for the people. They provided livelihood means and mechanisms. They provided medicines. They took care of the people as well. And at the same time, they provided food as well. So who was acting as the backbone? It is the NGOs. So this article currently goes on to say that what we require is that when it comes to the corporate social responsibility, there has to be a proper integration between these companies as well as the NGOs. Only when they have a proper coordination and an integration, that is when, even if the money is spent by these companies as part of the corporate social responsibility, the outcome of the money spent will be proper, says this article. In case companies are not engaging with such NGOs, this will ultimately not help in better outcomes, says this article. This article currently goes on to say that there are three types of companies. What are those? One is what is called as program proponents. Second happens to be adaptive funders. Third happens to be organization builders. Who are these program proponents? Let's say, for example, there is one of the company. This particular company has tied up with one of the NGOs. Let's say this particular company wants this NGO to work on the education sector. So what does this company do? This particular company will only work with this particular NGO on a program front. This program front basically means that if they have to develop the educational sector, let's say in a remote area, they pay money to this particular NGO, but the amount of money that is paid is only with respect to that particular program, but other expenses of the NGO is only restricted to about 5% or 10%. So basically, whenever there is an NGO will work for the people. This particular NGO will also have other expenses as well. An NGO will also have to hire people. An NGO will also have to require the building as well. If you have to require a building, you have to pay the rent, you have the electricity expenses, you also have the internet charges expenses as well. So an NGO, when it is running a particular program with the support of one of the companies, it has other kind of capital that is required. It requires what is called as the true cost. But when it comes to few companies like the program proponents, they only give this NGO money for the program, but they do not take care of the true cost. Because when you look at the true cost, it may go about 5%, 15%, it may go up to 55% as well. But these companies only pay money for that particular program, but do not take care of the true cost of the NGO is the first major concern. So CSR funders, who now represent a fifth of all private giving in India, principally fall under program proponents, says this article. So this article currently goes on to say that they pay very minuscule amount for the operational cost of the NGOs. This should be addressed, says this article. The second type of companies is what is called as the adaptive funders. Who are these adaptive funders? Let's say there is a particular program. This particular program is for the prevention or making sure that hunger is reduced over a period of time. In that case, they do provide whatever money is required for this particular program. Added to it, in case the NGO is able to substantiate it, if it is able to give proper reasoning to that particular company, in that case, they would be able to bear the true cost for the NGO, that is the additional cost for the NGO. But in this case, they do not give it on an objective criterion, but instead this NGO has to substantiate why it requires so much of money. If they are able to convince the company, then they give it is the second company. The third happens to be organization builders. Who are these people? They see value in investing in stronger organizations, so they basically believe that NGOs do have their own share of commitments, they do have their own share of finances, so it is not only us who have to grow, but this NGO also has to grow, so that the project outcome, the program's efficiency is also meeting its optimum level, is the third kind of company. So this article currently goes on to say that there have been issues with respect to the coordination between the companies as well as the NGOs. This has to be addressed, says this article. What are the other concerns? When you look at the NGOs and the company, roughly about 90% of the CSR funders are relatively small, unlisted companies, and companies that spend less than 50 lakh annually on CSR are not required by law to have a CSR committee. So if it is meeting a particular criterion, only then CSR committee is required. If it is not, CSR committee is not required. In that particular case, most of the action plans, how this particular company will have to spend on the social sector, will be decided by the board, but the board does not have much of the expertise as well, because they are only focusing on the company. They do not have any experience on the social front as well. They do not have any experience working with the NGO and at the same time. So this board usually makes sure that they are not focusing on the program, the outcome of the program. Their only idea is to implement the program for the sake of the law. The outcome does not matter for them, because the law imposes it, they are doing it. So this article says such should not be happening. The larger picture of why it is being imposed has to be taken into picture, says this article. In larger companies, they have also added CSR to the responsibilities of their HR or administration or communications head, and many CSRs make errors on safety with the unintended consequence of leaving an NGO with unpaid bills, or the worst still. So in this particular backdrop, they would have tied up with an NGO. They should have paid a certain amount, because the NGO also has its share of expenses as well. But then these companies have also failed to make the bill payments to the NGOs. These are the concerns that are presently present with respect to the coordination between the company as well as the NGO. Because we do have all these inherent issues, this article currently goes on to say what we require is much better coordination between the companies as well as the NGO. So what does the article say? Company can pool their resources with other mission aligned CSR or social sector stakeholders, increasing their collective impact potential, and also hire or tap into professionals with experience working with the NGOs. So in case there are company boards which do not have the expertise, make sure that you tie up with the right NGO who have the expertise, so that there is optimum utilization of the funds and the outcome is also reached, says this article. So tie up with the right NGO instead of you spending, says this article. Philanthropic collaboratives such as Migrants Resilience Collaborative that supports migrant workers, or Revive Alliance that finances semi and unskilled workers. So there have been collaborations, so look for the collaborations. And finally, Ask Foundation, the CSR arm of Ask Group, is working to enable better livelihoods for rural communities, since they were able to expand and ensure that more money is given to the NGOs on their personal finances, on their turnover cost. So if you are able to increase the NGO costs, give them enough amount of spending so that they can also take care of the administrative costs. In that case, the morale of those people working for the NGOs will also increase, so the outcome of the program will also meet its optimum level, says this article. If you're not paying the bills, if you're not giving enough for the administrative costs, the morale of the employees working for the NGO may not increase, they may not work efficiently, but only when you are able to increase their cost, this would ultimately transform to the better administrative cost, and overall this will meet the intended objective, says this article. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says time for a joint space exercise. Let us try and understand what is this article all about. India and United States of America will undertake joint military drills in October in Oli in Uttarakhand. So where is it? It is present in Uttarakhand. It is at an altitude of 10,000 feet and some 95 kilometers from the line of actual control. So remember, Oli is in the state of Uttarakhand, and this can also be asked in your preliminary examination. So this exercise is basically aimed at understanding and ensuring cooperation and interoperability between armies of India and United States of America. So this article currently goes on to say India and United States of America have been engaging on multiple fronts. Let's say for example, we have the army exercises together, we also have the air force exercises together, we also have land-based exercise as well, and navy exercise along with other countries like Australia and Japan as well. So United States of America and India have been ensuring that they have these exercises on a periodic front. So this article currently goes on to say such India United States of America's joint space military exercise will have its own significance. What is it? First, this act will push India's defense partnership into a new orbit. As of now, we are engaging on the land front, air front as well as the water front. Now we are expanding it to the space front as well. This basically means this will enhance further cooperation and understanding between India and United States of America. Second, it will send a strong signal or a message to a common adversary. Who is the common adversary here? This happens to be China. So it will send a strong signal to China that we are here to stand by each other. Third, it will have other ripple effects for the wider Quad. Other countries will also have the positive outcome with it. One, we have Japan. The other, we have Australia as well. These countries will also put their faith into United States of America and India's relationship, and ultimately what we will have is a positive outcome with respect to this particular space cooperation. Added to it, India and United States of America have also come up with defense technology and trade initiative. What is this defense technology and trade initiative? As part of this particular program, they are also planning to cooperate on the space front as well. What do we mean by it? Let's say for example, as of now, India and United States of America are not cooperating on the military space front. So in the near future, with this particular initiative, they are also planning to enhance their cooperation so that they can safeguard critical elements, critical equipments like the satellites. So basically, this article currently goes on to say, as of now, we have cooperation on the defense front, but going forward, we do not have any cooperation on the space front, that is on the military front. So what we require is cooperation so that we have significant aspects emanating from this particular understanding. Further, this article currently goes on to say that we have United States of America in 2019 stood up its Space Force as a branch under the Department of Air Force. So what did United States of America do? It came up with a force called as the Space Force. Similarly, India, space has remained sole jurisdiction of the civilian space agency, that is the Indian Space Research Organization. When we speak about space cooperation, space programs, what we have been able to do right now, we have engaged in activities which are primarily meant for the civilian use. We have been launching satellites after satellites. We have been sending missions to the moon as well. We have been sending missions to the Mars as well. We are trying to explore what is present in the space, and that is undertaken by the Indian Space Research Organization. That also means it is mostly civilian in nature. There is nothing to do with the military. But going forward, if United States of America and India can come together, they would also be able to take upon the military front of the space. What do you mean by military front? Let's say, for example, there is one of the countries. This particular country tries to hit on our satellites. Satellites are very important for us. They provide us GPS services. They also provide other type of services to us as well. So most of the operations these days are provided by the satellites. What if another country, let's say an adversary of India, tries to hit our satellite, sabotage it, destroy it? In that case, these countries can come together and make sure that this particular satellite of ours is protected. The successful demonstration, dubbed as Mission Shakti, of anti-satellite missile test in 2019 changed things forever. So India has already taken a program called as Mission Shakti or anti-satellite missile test, and similarly in 2019 India also conducted its first ever simulated space warfare exercise called as In SpaceX, within an eye on the Chinese threats. So this basically means the In SpaceX exercise is to access the requisite space counter space capabilities that are needed by India. So remember, India has already taken some steps. United States of America has taken its own share of steps. So why not coordinate on the space front? While we are trying to understand on the land, air and the water front, why not come up together and ensure that all these understandings that both these countries have is also taken on the military front of the space. In fact, the government of India has also come up with what is called as the Defense Space Agency as well as the Defense Space Research Organization. When you consider India, there is sluggish procurement system when it comes to the defense sector, and there is lack of coordination between civil and military relations and challenging inter-service integration as well. So where we do not have much of integration between the Air Force, the Army and the Navy. In order to make sure that this coordination is taken to the next level so that we have proper understanding, they have come up with Defense Space Agency as well as Defense Space Research Organization. When it comes to Defense Space Research Organization, what does it do? It is similar to that of Fighter Command in the United States of America, where it integrates assets from the Army, the Navy as well as the Air Force in developing a strategy. And at the same time, when we speak about Defense Space Agency, it happens to be a research organization which facilitates the development of civilian space technology for the military purposes. So what we require is more space agency integration, and what we require is much better advancement. These two agencies and institutions will provide that, says this article. So going forward, what we have to do is not only talk, but we have to enhance the relationship, says this article. It is not only India, there are multiple other countries like France which also conducted its first space military exercise called as Asterix in 2021. Asterix is one of the similar exercise conducted by France. This can be important from the preliminary examination point of view. Then we have China is also marching ahead with what is called a cis-lunar space region beyond the geosynchronous orbit, with an ambition to establish a permanent presence on the moon by the year 2024. So basically, we have United States of America which is speaking to its Western partners to come out with the norms for this particular sector, and at the same time we have Russia and China as well which are planning to come up with its own norms so that they could monitor the militarization of the space sector. So going forward, what we will have is we may face issues in the space. So what we require is coordination, says this article. Added to it, this article further goes on to say that if such integration and coordination happens, this may escalate the ties between India and China. So it says it will provoke our eastern neighbor and compel them to draw a new red line. Second, our eastern neighbor will use our western neighbor as a proxy state, which is Pakistan. Third, it will derail the ongoing core commander dialogue in Ladakh. Fourth, the United States cannot be trusted, are some of the wordings given by different political scientists. And fifth, it will fast track militarization for the space. So this particular criticism, or what is called as questioning whether India should coordinate with United States of America may come in the near future. But whether we like it or not, whether India engages with United States of America or not, China will always be our adversary in the near future. We may have drawbacks with respect to the space sector. So whether one likes it or not, whatever question comes or not, we should go ahead and we should coordinate with United States of America, says this article. So basically, Xi Jinping, who happens to be the president of China, is on his way to building a world-class Chinese military by 2049. If India has to become a space power, what we require is Indo-US partnership, is what is this article all about. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says the mandatory requirement for packaged commodities. This article currently goes on to say that there are few manufacturers, there are few companies who come up with their own packaged commodities. These packaged commodities will require all the ingredients that are used. It has to give what are the ingredients that are used in that particular packet. It also has to disclose what is in that particular product for the consumer interest. But there are many companies who are not putting out, so they are violating what is called as the legal metrology package commodity rules of 2011. So basically this article goes on to say that since there are many companies who are violating the established rules, these companies will now be imposed with penalty if they do not follow the rules and regulations, says this article. So the Department of Consumer Affairs Legal Metrology Division has notified a draft amendment to the legal metrology package commodity rules of 2011. As stated, the Department of Consumer Affairs Legal Metrology Department has observed that many manufacturers, packagers, importers do not clearly label necessary declarations or prime constituents on the front of the packaged commodities, which are deemed essential to be disclosed in order to protect consumer interest. Let me explain this with the help of an example. Let's say there is a product. This product has the front side as well as the back side. So whenever there is a product that is released into the market, it has to give something like the total fat, cholesterol, what is the chemical level present, sodium, potassium, and what are the ingredients that are used like the sugar, whole grain wheat flour, fructose corn syrup, apple powder, so on and so forth. Now what if there is one of the product which is released into the market, let's say a mango juice. So the product is being released as a mango juice. In that case, mango happens to be a major ingredient. If mango happens to be a major ingredient, what is the ingredient quantity? This has to be notified, or the quantity should be present on the front packaging, says this article. What all should be mentioned on this particular packaging? It is mandatory under legal metrology package commodity rules of 2011 to ensure a number of declarations such as name and address of the manufacturer, packer and importer, the country of origin, whether it is India or any other country, the common or the generic name of the commodity, the net quantity, how much is it, 1 kg, half kilo, 250 grams, so on and so forth, 1 liter, 0.5 liter, so on and so forth, the month and year of the manufacturer, the maximum retail price, and the consumer care information. Further, we have number of rules as well. In rule 2 of H, the principal display panel in relation to a package means the total surface area of a package containing the information required in accordance with these rules, namely that all the information should be grouped together and given in one place. The pre-printed information could be grouped together and given in one place, and the online information in another place. Additionally, Rule 9 of 1 of A provides that the declaration on the package must be legible and prominent. It shouldn't be like the person is not able to read it. It should be clearly legible. The person should be able to read it as well, and the consumer's right to be informed is violated if it is not legible. If there is more than one major product, Rule 6 of 1 of B states that the name or the number of each product shall be mentioned on the package. This sub-rule is however not applicable to mechanical or the electrical commodities. So under the proposed changes, proposed amendments, what is that they have been saying? The front side of the package must contain the percentage of the composition of the unique selling proposition. What is this USP? Let's say for example, we have a moisturizer which is made of aloe vera. In that particular case, aloe vera happens to be the unique selling proposition. So what is the percentage or the quantity of this particular ingredient present in that product has to be displayed on the front. Also, packages displaying key constituents must display a percentage of the content used in the product. The proposed section 6 of 1 of BA states that when a commodity contains more than one constituent, the front side of the package must include a declaration of two or more of the commodities prime constituents along with the brand name. This declaration must also include percentage quantity of the USPs of the product in the same front size as the declaration of the USPs. However, mechanical or electrical commodities are excluded from this sub-rule. So this article in a brief goes on to say that whenever there is a product that is released into the market, there are few manufacturers who are not giving the ingredients list, and if it happens to be a unique selling proposition, what is the main ingredient? It has to be showcased on the front side of the packaging, which is not being done. So going forward, these companies will have to mandatorily put all ingredients at the back cover as well as on the front cover, says this article. So this basically will ensure that consumers are not misled by the fake claims of the manufacturers relating to the content in the food and the cosmetics, is what is that we have to understand with this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says positive secularism is allowed, student to Supreme Court in hijab case. This article here is speaking about two types of secularism. One is what is called as positive secularism. The other is what is called as negative secularism. This is very important from the polity perspective and also from the social issues perspective as well. When we speak about negative secularism, what is it? The negative concept of secularism is the Western concept of secularism. It connotes a simple separation between the religion and the state. So this basically means that we have religion as one aspect, we also have state as an other aspect. The state will not interfere anything to do with the religion. So there is clear cut separation of religion as well as the state. The government will not interfere whatsoever. This is a policy which is maintained in Turkey. This is a policy that is currently being maintained in France as well. So there is clear cut separation between the state as well as the religion. So negative secularism is where the state says that nobody can display their religious identity in public. There might be ban on religious symbols in public places. So example that we can take is Turkey historically and France in the modern times. This negative concept of secularism is inapplicable in the Indian situation where the society is multi-religious. This is what we understand by negative secularism. Then we have something called as positive secularism. This concept of secularism is reflected in India. The Indian constitution embodies the positive concept of secularism, giving equal respect to all religions or protecting all religions equally. So irrespective of which religion it is, the state will see every religion equally, and at the same time, let's say there is a violation of some rights, the fundamental rights of the people. In that case, the state can also interfere for the positiveness. This basically means in the negative secularism, the state will not interfere whatsoever, but when it comes to positive secularism, the state will interfere in those aspects where certain other rights are getting violated. Let's say for example, if there is a violation of public order, or there is a violation of morality, or there is violation of health, in that case the state and the judiciary can interfere, which is what is called as positive secularism. And at the same time, the state should treat all the religions equally, is what is this positive secularism all about. Rest of the article is not important as of now, but when Supreme Court decides to give the judgment, we will take it up on a comprehensive basis. Now let's look into the next article. This article says the spirit of 1971, India Bangladesh Load panel on Ganga waters. Then we have New Delhi Dhaka Hail Ganga panel. So we have about 3 articles. Let's merge it together and discuss as one single issue. When we speak about this issue about India and Bangladesh, we have discussed about this issue in a broader detail in our yesterday's CNA. What are we going to discuss today? We will be discussing about 2 important parameters. When we speak about unsettled issues between India and Bangladesh, the major happens to be Teesta water issue. So India will have to cooperate with Bangladesh, make sure that this particular Teesta river water issue is ultimately settled. Why? That is because in the past, Bangladesh has helped us a lot. There are number of insurgent groups who were operating from Bangladesh. There were criminal organizations who were operating from Bangladesh, and Bangladesh has been able to eliminate them. Certain criminals were also handed over to India. We also have a mutual and good cooperation with Bangladesh. So in all these cases, Bangladesh is only requesting for the settlement of Teesta water issue. So this has to be settled amicably, for which the cooperation of the West Bengal government is required. So the government of India will have to work out with West Bengal government so that this is amicably settled, is the first issue. The second major issue is there are few politicians who are speaking about the Citizenship Amendment Act. They are also speaking about few Bangladeshis who enter into India as termites. So they are criticizing the country of Bangladesh in an indirect way. These wordings by some of the prominent politicians should also be avoided, says this article. So if we are able to do so, we would be able to enhance the relationship between India and Bangladesh, is what is this article all about. But the entire analysis with respect to India and Bangladesh, the 7 agreements, has been discussed in our yesterday's CNA. Kindly look into it. Now let's look into the mains practice questions. Corporate NGO partnership on the CSR front not only helps companies create an image or brand as a socially responsible corporate, but also helps them to serve society better. Elucidate. If India is to become a defense power, then an Indo-US military collaboration in every field is necessary. Examine. Please write all your answers on the comment section, peer review, and do give positive feedback to your friends' answers as well. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.